Hello everybody, welcome into the Creator Series here once again for our Friday night of F2 action. Last time out in Mexico City we had the no track limits wildcard, gave us some great action throughout that race as we always see here in the Creator Series. We went back to normal racing rules for the feature race, where we saw Formula Carrion coming home to pick up another race win, extending his championship lead out in front as well. We also saw Bushy Ants returning to the podium for the first time since he's come back to the Creator Series. Now, this week, we are heading further south from Mexico City towards Interlagos in Brazil. It's going to be the second time we visit Brazil in the F2 Creator Series, and going to be a great race, I think. Alongside me in the virtual commentary box, we have got Joe. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very excited for the action for tonight. And yeah, we should have two great races ahead of us.
Yeah, and talking about the races as well, for the feature race, new change for this round. We are actually changing from a 50% distance feature race to an 100% feature race, and if I am correct, I believe that's going to be an extra 20 laps, all the way up to 40 laps of racing, so even more time for some more racing, and should give us a great race, I think, overall. Sprint distance going to stay as usual, and also, as ever in the Creator Series, we have got that wild card for tonight, and tonight it is I've completely forgotten. It is you have to use all three tyre sets for at least 5 laps in the feature race, so yeah, gonna really throw some mixed strategies up, I think.
Definitely. I mean, that means that we're having the soft, I think it's the soft tyre, the medium tyre, and then the full wet compound tyre for 5 laps at least in that session. So it will definitely change things up. It will definitely throw some drivers off their rhythm, because, well, if it's a completely dry session, then they're going to struggle with that wet stint.
Yeah, I don't think too many drivers are going to have practiced driving in the dry on the wet tyres. And again, not too many drivers, if we do see some rain tonight, not many drivers are going to have practiced driving on the dry tyres. It is really going to mix things up, going to really show who can adapt quickly to the conditions. But yeah, going to be a great race for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it will test a lot of different skill sets. So, for example, you've got the fact that they are going to be on those wet compound tyres, or either way, they'll be on a difficult tyre to be on in those conditions. And then also the fact that it is going to be a longer feature race, that means that it's going to be more of a test of endurance. It'll bring different skills to the fore, because generally with the feature race and the sprint race format, that means that we have overall a shorter race. But with this, it means that, you know, as you mentioned, there was 20 more laps, so it'll just increase the fatigue that the drivers are feeling, and then maybe it'll induce a few mistakes, which should make for, well, a race with many changes, with many chances for drivers to get back into it. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, Brazil, a really great track for overtaking as well, just for general racing. You can go wheel to wheel through pretty much every single corner around this track with ease. And yeah, it's going to give people plenty of opportunities to fight back through the field if they do end up down a position, and that wildcard definitely going to play a factor into that. When drivers choose to make their pit stops for the unfavourable tyre, they might end up out of position and have to make some overtakes throughout the race to get themselves back up to the top of the field. So yeah, even more to look forward to in the feature race. Sprint race going to be completely as normal though.
Yeah, and well, yeah, the sprint race being as normal, it will also change around the things that the drivers will be doing. So not only will, because they'll be used to the routine of a short sprint race and then a relatively short feature race. Instead, they've got a short sprint race where they're pushing to the line pretty much from lights to flag. But now they will have to adapt themselves from doing that straight onto the longer the longer stints, the heavier cars, and so it's going to be difficult for some drivers to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few drivers here who have driven in the Formula 1 Creator Series where they do the full 100% races there. They're even longer than will be in the F2 Creator Series. So some people will have a bit of experience with the longer, almost endurance style racing. But yeah, going to be really interesting. See who can adapt, who will crack under the pressure as well. Hopefully Lobby will be getting going in just a moment. Shouldn't be too much longer before we head down to the track for the sprint race, I expect. Any predictions heading into this race?
Well, I mean, I have... There's one driver that I always see do pretty well, and it's G Watts, who Watts, or however you like to pronounce it. He seems to change his opinion on that every week, but I always find that he's at the front of any sort of competition that I will watch or competition that I will be a part of, and I'm expecting him to be pretty strong tonight.
Yeah, Formula Karim, obviously, he's been going very well this season. Probably the favourite for the race wins and also the championship. F1 Alex, he won the feature race last time we were here in Brazil back in Season 6. F1 Scott was alongside him on the podium in P2 as well. So those two could be on for a pretty decent race tonight as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we haven't seen is these drivers being tested over the longer stints in the feature race, and well, that means that some of the drivers that we are underrating, that we're not even mentioning, they could be coming to the fore, and they could demonstrate an ability that we've not seen them, and we've not given them the platform to demonstrate.
Yeah, it will definitely give us a good show though, and then heading into the next few weeks we will have a much better idea of how everyone's going to stack up in these 100% feature races. I'm seeing a few more drivers readying up. Oh no, we've been reset again. Well, hopefully Adam is now readying up, so that should mean we're going to get underway in just a moment. But we head now into our reverse grid sprint race. And yeah, gonna be really interesting to see how drivers are able to cut through the field. Obviously, the likes of Formula Karim, F1 Alex, those guys are going to be right down at the back of the grid, seeing how they can fight their way back through as well. Yeah, gonna be a really good one to watch.
Yeah, and reverse grid races really. I love reverse grid races because it just means that they're all bunched together. So maybe the ones that are slower, who are at the front, will be given the opportunity to fight. And then again, it's about those skill sets. They might have more of a skill set of defending rather than just all out pace. And that could bring a different result for them, a stronger result.
Yeah, and Sao Paulo as well. It's quite an interesting track with the overtaking. We saw it last year. In the Formula 1 race, Alonso managed to hold off Perez for I think it was like about 20 laps. And here we go now down to the pit lane, and we can see it is raining for our sprint race. It is going to be wet tyres on the F2 cars. I would expect at least. It is looking pretty damp out there. So going to be some wet running here. No DRS then, I guess. Whether it's going to dry up though, we've got 14 laps ahead of us. Yeah, going to be a very interesting one.
It will certainly be an interesting one. It could spell an even more interesting race for the weekend ahead, and that's because if it's raining in the feature race, then that will completely change the strategies that the drivers are going to have, because they will be on. They will.
Oh.
Generally, you can play around with it, but with the with the softs in the wetter conditions, it will be harder. And because you've got to do at least 10 laps, if it is going to be like this, you've got to do at least 10 laps on the dries instead of just 5 laps on the wrong tire. That'll make it significantly more difficult.
Yeah, 10 laps out of 40 instead of just 5 out of 40. will be a much bigger penalty, and you could potentially, if as well, slick tires in wet conditions are also slower than wet tires in dry conditions, as we now have the cars on the grid ready for the start of the formation lap. Let's have a look at this grid quickly. We got Big T-Mac on pole position, Ultra Killer alongside him in P2, then Pondon and Blackmere on the second row, Zach and Ricky, Chesnoid and Hoodie Pete, then Luke Howick, Test Will, P9 and 10, G-Watts, F1 Alex, 11 and 12, then Adam Sanderson, Arseno, F1 Scott Kreisig, Formula Karim, and then our reserves down at the back of the grid, Matty D, Infratic, Caden Gullis, and Tom. Going to be a very exciting race looking at this grid. Lots of drivers, especially down that back end of the field, who are going to be eager to make up some positions in these opening stages.
Yeah, and, well, I mean, the likes of Tom, the likes of Infratic, they are quick, and they will be starting from, well, 21st and 19th, respectively. So, a lot of positions to make up, and I'm sure that in these more treacherous conditions, the drivers will be a lot more. They're likely to be a lot more cautious. On the contrary to that, though, they could just fully try to send it as if they were in normal racing conditions, and well, that means that they. The incidents could be caused, and that'll put pay to their race.
Yeah, we've already seen 5 drivers disqualified on this formation lap as well. Going to be very cold tyres for them for the start of this one, and it is going to be a slippy one as well, so that is not going to be helping them at all.
Yeah, it's I mean, a slippy one plus the conditions of the tyres is just it's not going to help them. As you can see, somebody in the mid pack there desperately trying to warm up their tyres on the grid, doing a couple of failed 360s, but there we go. I mean, all the drivers will be desperate to warm those tyres up. They'll be a lot colder in these conditions than they would be in the dry with the soft compound tyres on, or the slicks generally. But yeah, as the final cars roll up to the grid, we are going to head to the 5 red lights for the sprint race. The green lights are on. The red ones are on now. It's 3, 4, 5. It's lights. And it's action. We are away for the sprint race here in Brazil, and that is an incredible start from somebody in the mid-pack. T-Mac has gotten a great start off of the line. Ultra Killer and Pondon side by side as they head into turn number 1, looking further back now, as that's a battle between a Red Bull car and a Rogan Carlin car. That is, well, it's Ultra Killer who's come out on top. He's in P2. Blackmere and Pondon are side by side. It looks like they're 3 wide. They were momentarily as they headed down now to Desida Del Lago, but T-Mac has a huge lead already as just they edge their way through the first few corners. Contact there between Blackmere and Pondon. Ricky trying to get involved, but it's already being split into packs. Somebody, a blue car off in the distance there. That looks like that was Luke Howick going off, recovering just behind Hoodie Pete in 8th place. But Hoodie Pete has picked up a 10-second penalty for corner cutting, gaining 1 place. So that may have been the driver that ran off. He may have passed Luke Howick. And for Hoodie Pete, that could pretty much be his sprint race, his competitive sprint race at least, over. Yeah, look at the lead already that Big T-Mac has pulled on this start. Almost 2 seconds clear already of Ultra Killer in just the first lap of racing. We've still got battles happening in the middle pack as they make their way down towards the final corner. Jinsao as Adam Sanderson and G-Watts going wheel to wheel through this final corner up towards the start-finish line now. 2 by 2 by 2, making their way through these bends, final few corners. No DRS, of course. We are in very wet conditions. T-Mac setting the fastest lap of the race at 35.0, rounding out the first lap as they make their way down towards the CNRSs now. Who's going to be having a look for a move down the inside? Maybe there from Chesno, trying to get the move done on the Primo of Adam Sanderson. Can't quite get alongside. Here comes Kryzix now, lunging down the inside of turn 2. He's up into P11 now, almost onto the back of the points already. Yeah, and he's benefited himself up there because he's gotten past Chesnoy, even if he hasn't got that eventual move on Adam Sanderson, and he's just behind the Prema driver as they head now into Desida Del Lago and out of it. Yeah, just that it seems to be forming quite significant packs already. You've got T-Mac 2.4 seconds up the road from Ultra Killer, then Ultra Killer all the way down to Luke Howick. Adam Sanderson leads the rest of the pack, and then Formula Kareem, Tom, and Zach down at the bottom, just unable. Zach also with 9 seconds gap between himself and Tom, so something has happened for him in the meantime. But as some of these drivers getting their elbows out a little bit more, F1 Scott and Matty D fighting. Matty D are able to hold on. Hayden Gullis getting past Arsino in the meantime, and Formula Kareem getting past Arsino as well, so he hasn't had a good couple of corners. Infratic losing a position to Matty D, but yeah, the positions right now are very open. All the drivers pretty tight, and this is a battle that is tight. It could get tighter as we head across the line to start lap number 3. Ultra Killer and Blackmere, but without that DRS assistance, Blackmere is he's unable to get that little bit that'll help him over the line.
Yeah, I was going to say just a second ago, Formula Kareem, really poor start to the race from himself. Down in P18, might get an overtake in just a second. But he's just at the fastest lap of the race now, showing he definitely does have the pace. Here comes Blackmere once again, trying to go around the outside. Now to the inside at the City Dog. A little bit of contact as they bang wheels, making their way through. But Blackmere up into second, pushing Ultra Killer off the track. He says, this place is mine. You aren't having this back, sunshine. And now Blackmere up into P2, but it's 3.6 seconds to T-Mac in front. He is absolutely flying away.
He is, and that's the benefit of a reverse grid, because he would have been at the back, so he wouldn't have had the opportunity to break free. This is Kryzix and Luke Howick, the latest battle. This is for P10, the final points position. Luke Howick trying to take that inside line, unable to, but who's that? That's Pondon, who's going slowly. He's had a massive moment that has cost him so many positions. It's cost him another one with Chesnoid Gaming. Guat's looking to fight as well. Chesnoid Gaming, though, still fighting for this position. Pondon isn't giving it up that easily. Guat's down the inside. It's 3 wide as they head into the final braking zone of the lap, and he takes the position. Pondon manages to cling on to that P12. Chesnoid Gaming, though, has the inside line, and that means that he will have the momentum to take him ahead. Pondon he's just losing so many positions here. It could be another one to Matty D as they're now heading into turn number 1. Into the center S's. They're side by side. The two teammates in the Campos cars. Pondon and Matty D still just clinging on to each other's lines. Just maybe making contact there as Pondon had a little bit of a wobble. I think they managed to avoid it, but Matty D up into P13 and Pondon really struggling.
Yeah, it's really been a poor last lap for him. Dropped down quite a few positions and now in 14th, well outside the points, behind his teammate as well. Still though, 10 laps to go in this race. Still definitely an opportunity for him to fight his way back through.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be an opportunity to fight back through. Somebody could make the same mistake as Pondon, but, well, with the way he's dropping down the order, he's beginning to just carry weight down there as Infratic becomes the latest driver to fight him. Around the outside, he tries to hold it. Pondon with that grip, able to cling on, but Infratic with the inside line, and he will take that P14. Side by side, just behind them, Formula Kareem and Hayden Gullis. Formula Kareem starting to make his way up the order finally as we're on lap 4 of this race. Hayden, though, fighting back almost sideways as he went into the final braking zone of the lap, and that has ruined his momentum. Formula Kareem trying to cling onto that outside line, trying to cling onto anything that will give him any momentum as Ricky takes the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Something's happened to F1 Alex as he's dropped down. It looks like
we've got some cars into the pits. I think the track has dried up. I think some drivers opting for slick tires now. This could spice things up now. Let me get those tires up for you quickly. We've got one car onto mediums already. I think the others might be changing their tires as well. But yeah, this could really bring quite a few different cars into play with the undercut that these guys are going to be getting in this next lap or two. So drivers heading onto the medium compound tires, trying to make the gamble. Are the wet tires going to get slow enough? That is going to be the big question.
Yeah, and it means how dry is the track going to get? That will be what the drivers will be looking for. Zach has gone onto the softs. Everybody else has gone onto the medium compound of tyre, as there's still fighting between these wet drivers, the wet compound runners. But you can see how much the track has dried up just in that last lap. And the wet runners, even though on the last lap they were probably struggling because of the fact that they were in they were in slightly damper conditions. Now that a dry line has formed, I think everyone is going to dive into the pits on this lap.
Yeah, well, I guess the question is, do they think they'll be caught? It's 21 seconds between F1 Alex, the lead slick runner, and Tom, the last wet runner. I'm just looking at the track map. Only one car so far. Here comes some more into the pit lane now. As they slow the car down. DRS has been enabled. That is crucial. And here we go for an overtake into the pit lane. Test Will trying to be the opportunist. Get past Ultra Killer. Could not quite get it done, though. Chesnoy's picked up a 10-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane as well. We still have a couple drivers. T-Mac, Blackmere, Kryzix, G-Watts, and Tom out on the track on their wet tyres. Everybody else now coming into the pit lane. And that pit lane looking very busy. Track, though, if we look at the map, everybody very, very separated. It's going to be quite interesting to see. F1 Alex will head over to him because not that one. Where is he? He's dumped up. I've lost him. 10th. There we go. Where he comes out relative to all these wet runners is going to be really interesting. How many positions has he gained as he makes his way through the Curva de Sol, down the Retroposta, and look at that, he's come out ahead of Ultra Killer almost. He's wheel to wheel with the MP Motorsport car. Going to try and go round the outside down at turn 4. Gets pushed off the track though, can't get through there. Has the slot down in P8. Test Wheel now attacking him through turn 5. Gets pushed off the track there as well. These guys getting their elbows out. They don't want to give her any track position.
They certainly don't, especially those soft runners who are on the colder compound of tyre. With F1 Alex, he's on the harder one, but he will have had a lap to warm them up, and so he's more ready for this fight. Ultra Killer and Test Will maybe having to get a little bit more aggressive with the way that they do things as T-Mac, Blackmere, Kryzix, Watts, and surely Tom comes into the pit on this lap to get rid of those wets, and they will have they'll have the softest and the freshest compound of tyre towards the end of this race. Tom actually does stay out. So a very interesting strategy, possibly one that is unlikely to work. T-Mac onto those mediums, so is Blackmere. So these soft runners, their tyres might not make it sustainably to the end.
Yeah, I mean, 7 laps doesn't seem too bad for a set of soft compound tyres, as down to them on this contact. Ultra Killer spun around, heading through the center S's. He's going to lose a couple positions here to Adam Sanson and Luke Houck. More contacts. He tries to get back going as well. Down to P10, outside of the point scoring positions.
Yeah, that is not what he would have wanted in that moment. That was probably the moment that is going to define his sprint race, as Hayden Gullis looking to get past Chesnoy Gaming. The gamble onto those, well, it's more of a gamble than onto the mediums. That is a safe choice, but the softs is a little bit more of a risk. And Hayden Gullis now, he looked to attack Chesnoy Gaming. He is now being attacked by Arsino down the inside as they head into the second S's of the lap. And
oh, got some contact.
Oh, no, he's not, as there's contact. Who's that gone round? That is Arsino who's gone round. Maybe contact with Chesnoy Gaming. Hayden Gullis off the track. Contact, further contact with Arsino as he has gone off. And, well, that's just thrown a screwdriver, or a spanner into the works of a few of these drivers' races now.
Yeah, really gonna cost them some time. I think quite a few of those drivers lost a couple seconds out in front. F1 Alex and Test Will making some moves as well. Down the start-finish straight with the DRS, getting themselves past Blackmere. F1 Alex now up into P4. He's having a pretty good race. Here we go now through the Curva de Sol. Test Will gonna try and have a look around the outside. Now tucks into the slipstream, getting that DRS open as well. Down towards the Cedar de Lago, gonna come over to the inside. F1 Alex not gonna give him any space though. Gives him a right old squeeze over to the inside, but Test Will gets the move done on the exit though. Switch back from F1 Alex, gets himself back up into that P4, and now Kryzix right on the back of this one as well. Gonna get himself past the roading car, around the outside, potentially through turn 6 and 7, up the hill, onto the brakes now for turn 8. They're still wheel to wheel, and Test Will not going to be giving this one up. He can try and lunge one maybe round the outside of F1 Alex, where Kryzix cannot get his car alongside, but now down in towards Bigo de Pato. Test Will down the inside, trying to hold on to this one. Got yellow flags in the background as well. That is one of the who is that? It's Hayden Gullis, I think, that's gone round down in the background. But Kryzix finally manages to get this position as they come out of Junsao in the slipstream down the start finish straight. Zach RC picks up a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting as well. Tom now 5 seconds away from T-Mac on the medium tyres as we make our way down towards the center S's once again. Here it comes, Kryzik gaining on F1 Alex round the outside into turn 1. Going to switch the inside if he can. No, can't quite get far enough alongside Adam Sanderson. Gaining on this back as well as Black Mirror coming to blows with Test Will through the Curva de Sol.
Yeah, and well, this is the race lighting up. They're getting more aggressive. They are on those slick tyres. They are racing properly for the first real time we've seen in this race in F1 Alex. And Kryzik's fighting. Kryzik's getting the lead in that battle. F1 Alex looking maybe to the inside, but that may have been to cover off Test Will, who's getting quite aggressive, just backing out of that move, which sees Black Mirror able, or maybe not, to fight through. Adam Sanderson getting through on Black Mirror in the meantime because he tried to take the opportunity, ruined his line, and it cost him. Ultra Killer and Gwatz in the meantime having a fight. Ultra Killer unable to make that move. It's just they are opening up more gaps than they were in those wet conditions, and now it's just a case of whether they can take them.
Yeah, here comes T-Mac now down towards turn 1. Nice easy pass with the DRS. He's up into the race lead once again, past Tom on those wet tyres. I mean, we've got 4 laps to go. He's about 3 seconds a lap slower. He might still yet finish probably higher than he would have done if he had pitted for some slick tyres, especially with all the cars trying to battle past. It's going to take them a bit longer to get through. Catching is one thing, passing is another, as they say. But here we go down the retro poster. Adam Sanderson almost into the back of Test Will there as he tried to look for a move. F1 Alex also trying to get around the outside down into turn 4. These guys still battling away very hard, and we've got about 5 cars here separated just over half a second on the track.
Yeah, they are getting aggressive. Is that somebody going around? Tom, who was struggling on those wets. Now he's going to struggle to get anything out of this race, really. He drops down to P11. I think he was just hoping that he was able to hold on to those positions for the last 4 laps of this Grand Prix. Alas, he's not able to as Adam Sanderson looks to the inside of Test Will. This could be a ridiculous move, but Test Will with the grip, with those softer tyres, able to just cling onto that position. Remember, though, he's got a penalty, so Adam doesn't need to make this move unless he feels he can push towards the podium, which is clearly what he thinks he can do. And so he will need to make this move on Test Will as soon as he possibly can. Test Will, though, won't let him go that easily. 3 seconds worth of penalties is what he has, which will drop him down quite significantly, actually, as Adam Sanderson gets through as they head into turn number 1. F1 Alex looking to get through as well. And a little bit of a lock-up for Test Will cost him that position. F1 Alex moves up into P5. Adam Sanderson up into P4. More yellow flags up as Zach RC drops to the back of the field.
Yeah, that was very brave from F1 Alex. Late on the brakes, down into turn 1. We've got yellow flags. That's Pondon, slow, coming out of Jun Sao. Kryzik's now up into P2. 3.5 seconds is the gap. We've got 3.5 laps of racing to go. So he needs to gain a second a lap here if he wants to catch up to T-Mac.
Yeah, and it will be a difficult task because T-Mac has just absolutely dominated this race from lights and presumably to the flag as well. 3.5 seconds is a huge gap to hold, especially with the sort of double dose of DRS that you get down the main straight and then after the first center S's. So yeah, I feel like that'll be difficult to bridge. However, Kryzik's has gained 4/10 in the time that I've been speaking, and he's broken DRS to Ricky, so there'll be no pressure from behind. All he'll be focusing on now is getting that position off of T-Mac. 3 laps to go in this race, and the pressure is well and truly on the front runner.
Yeah, so lap 10, he gained 1.2 seconds. Lap 11, he only gained 0.7. So he's going to have to pull his finger out a little bit if he wants to try and pick up this sprint race win here.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to have to push. He's going to have to push so hard. I think he's on the soft compounded tyre as opposed to T-Mac, who's on the medium. So he will have that advantage, although he will have more tyre wear. One, because T-Mac came in relatively late to the rest of the field, but 2, because, well, I mean, it's just that it's that wear that will just get you. It will just bite you. It'll be that minimal gain, and because he's trying to gain such a small gap down, 3.1 seconds, he will need that tiny bit of wear on those, or those couple of tiny percents on those tyres, that could make the difference. Blackmere looking to get past Tesswill, looking to the inside, maybe the final braking zone, not to be, and he will try to make this move with the DRS down the main straight.
Yeah, should be a relatively straightforward pass with the DRS, although Tesswill also with DRS in front, not going to make it too easy for Blackmere. These guys all with 3-second time penalties. Adam Sanderson now past Ricky. I think those soft tyres might be starting to die off. Kreisig gets a 3-second time penalty, and that surely is going to confirm that he will not be catching up for that race win. Adam Sanderson only 2 seconds behind. He could yet still jump up another position up to P2, and Ricky could also still hold on to this sprint race podium.
Yeah, this will be a great finish to this race if they're able to cling onto it with Adam Sanderson. Well, he's jumping between 1.9 and 2 seconds behind. Kreisig will need to get a move on if he wants even a podium out of this race. And at the moment, it feels very, very unlikely. Well, I mean, you never know. 2.2 seconds now is the gap between himself and Adam Sanderson. 1 and a bit laps to go. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, he's pretty much cleared the gap to Ricky now, at least. It is fluctuating ever so slightly, corner after corner after corner, but it is just teetering on the edge of that 3 seconds between Kreisig and Ricky right now, just over it. But in a second, it's probably going to drop to just under it, especially with this DRS down. The start-finish straight as we now start the final lap of racing here in Sao Paulo. T-Mac is leading away, 3 seconds clear of Kreisig, a 3-second time penalty as well for the RT drivers. Here comes F1 Alex down the inside on Ricky into the CLRSs, gets himself up into P4. He has that 3-second time penalty though, but that is allowing Adam Sanderson to break away from these guys behind. He's got over a second now. Crucially though, F1 Alex just about picks up the DRS down towards turn number 4.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly close as that is somebody getting out of the way. Look like Pondon getting out of the way as Luke goes for a little half spin that's cost him a couple of positions. Tesswill goes through, Gwatz goes through, and now it's side by side as they head up the hill between, who is that? Going side by side. It may be someone getting out of the way. I'm not 100% sure. It is actually someone getting out of the way, so that's my mistake. But Luke Howick just behind Gwatz, making that mistake at the crucial time. And that presumably means that he is not going to be, well, he won't be catching Gwatz towards the end of this race. Tell you who else won't be caught as well as he heads around the final braking zone. It's going to be T-Mac, who on pole position got a good start, and from there just absolutely he's dominated this race. He hasn't looked under threat at all, and he will take victory in this sprint race here in Sao Paulo. T-Mac taking the victory. Kreisig second place on track, but we know the full story is that Adam Sanderson will take second. Kreisig clings on to third place with Ricky in fourth. Then it's F1 Alex, Tesswill, Blackmere, and Gwatz in ninth, with Ultra Killer picking up the final points position.
Yeah, what an end to that race it was. We had so much action throughout that sprint. And in the end, T-Mac taking the pole position, and he's managed to convert it to a race win. 4.8 seconds was the gap after all of the penalties were settled. And yeah, a very nice drive from him. Adam Sanderson picking up the P2 equals his best finish in a sprint race as well, and Kreisig rounding out our sprint podium.
Yeah, that was just it. I'd say it was unfortunate for Kreisig, but Adam Sanderson certainly earned, as there's a race to the line between Zach and Hayden. I mean, I'd like at some point today Hayden to finish. Oh, there we go. The final finisher. Oh, not the final finisher, because we've got Tom. He's... Where is he? What? Okay. But yeah, I think that was... I don't think I've ever seen this. He's got a puncher. So I think we are going to have to wait for Tom to get back round. This could be entertaining viewing with everybody's AI desperately trying to get out of the way. But yeah, it's all definitely earned podiums. T-Mac just dominating that race. Kreisig unlucky with that 3-second time penalty. But he was probably the quickest in that field, in that sprint race. On those dry compounded tyre, and the Adam Sanderson just able to make his way up the field. He was impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, I'm quite surprised. Formula Rim, he managed to pick up the fastest lap, but he only came home in P13. Championship leader, not even within the points paying positions. Quite surprising, I have to say.
Definitely. I mean, It is definitely surprising. I feel as though it's something that's going to be rectified in the main race. They've got a lot more laps to make that progress. Formula Kareem can think less about making those aggressive moves early on. He can think more about just pushing it through, and just biding his time. They'll have about 40 laps to race around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I was very proud of that pronunciation, actually. Surely that was right. But yeah, I mean, Formula Kareem, I'm sure he'll be focusing fully now on the feature race. All the drivers will be, but he'll want to prove us wrong, and he'll want to prove that he can actually make those gains up the field.
Yeah, I mean, heading into this race, I think the gap in the championship was 43 points that he was ahead. So he is quite a margin ahead. He can have a bit of a flop race tonight, and he will still comfortably lead the championship. So yeah, he's probably not too worried. It definitely could be worse if that championship gap was a lot smaller.
It definitely could be worse. And I mean, it's probably about damage limitation at this point. We're seeing this with Verstappen in real life, where he's bringing home enough points to maintain that lead. And I think Formula Kareem is looking for the same sort of thing as we head into the feature race. I'm sure he'll want to pick up.
This will be the crashing out the fun session just for them. Oh, maybe we might be restarting the lobby. We've had 2 drivers leave. But yeah, we have the lobby restart into the one-shot qualifying first and foremost before we do get into the feature race. I'm not sure whether we are leaving or whether they've just chose to leave instead. But yeah, now the drivers get a couple minutes to have a little bit of fun and crash out their cars in very nice style. As now, yes, there we go, getting this formation lap underway, and you can already see the absolute chaos in the background. Lots of cars spinning out of their grid spots. Just got to disqualify all the cars on the formation lap first and foremost, and then we get into the feature race. That's a lot more fun. You get to see cars flipping around. I think it was last week, but yeah, here we go.
This is how Tom drove in the actual last lap of the sprint race, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they're definitely not going to be too helpful for your honing your skills, doing all these fancy spins, unless you're practicing catching the spins. Just Ricky and Infratic left now in this session, and then we will be able to see their magnificent crashes.
I don't think they've noticed, you know. I think, oh, there we go. Infratic's noticed, and I think he's going to try and wipe out Ricky. He's missed. But there we go. He's going to drive. Oh no, I thought he was going to drive backwards. He's going to spin back round. Those tyres must be cooked right now. But it is just a case of waiting for the Trident and the AIX to come around now, and well, they're coming around the final corner. We've waited a couple of minutes for them. I think Infratic, to be fair to him, is desperately trying to disqualify himself, but the corner cutting doesn't actually disqualify you in the formation lap, it appears. And so, yeah, the crashing session is about to ensue.
Yeah, this is always a very funny one to watch as the drivers try and destroy their cars in the best fashion as possible. Ricky just getting into his grid spot, and now they can have their fun.
No, we don't even need to.
Yeah.
There we go. How many have they all jumped the start? Oh, not all of them. Ricky, Hoodie Pete, Adam Sanderson. They didn't jump the start. Everybody else has, and Gwatts as well. How many are going to just aquaplane into turn number 1? Not many of them. We have lost 7 of the field, I think that is. Yeah, we have lost 7 of the field as we head into turn number 1. Quite a few of them were disqualifications, though, as we've got a couple of them who haven't even got off the line. The two ARTs. I think that is virtual safety car is out. Full safety car is out. Somebody's being. I was going to say somebody's being rammed. I'm not going to say that. because that'll be... Yeah, Ricky again leads this.
He might just be an AI here. That might be.
It looks
why.
like he is, yeah.
But once everybody else retires, if he is an AI, it should end the session. So not too much of a need to worry about that. Do not worry, everybody, if you are watching this and aren't sure what is going on. This is not the actual race. This is just we need to restart the lobby. We increase the race distance, and we go for a one-shot qualifying to set the grid as well.
Yeah, so this will be... It will certainly be an interesting race. I've mentioned it before. The challenges that they're being given in the actual race are so very different to those that they get in the sprint and generally throughout, because of the wild card that we've got ahead of us. And well, yeah, it should be very, very entertaining.
Yep, so just a few more cars left in the session. But now as we head towards the feature race, we've seen some racing action from these guys already. Any predictions now as we do head into this 40-lap race?
I think Formula Kareem is going to come back. It's come back pretty strongly. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do so, just because. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, he's one of the quickest drivers in the F2 races that we have at the moment, and so in the F2 season that we have at the moment, and so he's looking for vengeance, and I'm sure he's going to get that vengeance tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you don't end up that far ahead in the championship without any skill. He's clearly one of the fastest drivers in these F2 cars. He's been showing that skill all throughout the season. And picking up plenty of points along the way as well. But now just got to wait a couple of minutes for this lobby to be reset back up, and then we will be heading out for our one-shot qualifying and then our 100% feature race with the wild card as well. All tyre compounds have to be used for at least 5 laps. That includes the wets, even if it's a dry track, or the slicks if it's a wet track. Either way around, it's definitely going to spice things up.
It will definitely, because there will be so many different ways that you can take this strategy. Whether you take it as start on the wets, maybe don't do as well. Well, that banks on the fact that it's going to be a dry race. But start on the wets, maybe don't do as well to start off with, and then the mediums in the middle stint, and then just blast away on the softs in the final stint. Personally, I would go for maybe a soft start, then a wet middle, and then a medium finish. That does not sound the way I wanted it to sound, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just quickly going through in my head the time loss you'd have. We saw Tom was losing about 3 seconds a lap on the wet tyres. 5 laps of that is 15 seconds. So to go from one slick set to another slick set with a wet in between, you're looking at about 45 seconds of time loss. That's almost a lap around this track.
Yeah, and I mean, well, everyone's got to face that at some point, and it just depends at what point they take it. I think with the way that this game is, with the way this game is, the undercut is generally strong. Although F1 24, it hasn't been as strong, but generally it is the strongest strategy, and therefore I think maybe the mediums could be the way to go. Just literally do 5 laps on them, just to start off with, and then switch, and then think about the strategy, and then think about the time that you could be gaining on everyone else while they're on wets, and it could make, well, you never know, some really actually genuinely good overtakes. Yeah,
I can't remember exactly what the F2 tire allocation is. I'm gonna have a look and see if I can see in the game menu quickly. It doesn't look like it's going to show me though, but I don't think they actually get too many sets of tires, so they might have to be a bit careful with when they do choose to use their tires. Don't want to use them up all too early, especially if you do see a late safety car. You don't want to be without a set of the soft compound tires.
No, absolutely not. And I'm sure they'll be hoping to have at least one set of those soft compound tires saved up for the end. Some drivers might even take a risk, wait for a safety car, as is customary in Creator Series. Sometimes you will just wait for a safety car, and one will come. But hey, let's back the drivers. Let's say that there's not going to be a safety car. and I think wets, mediums, softs could be one of the ways to go. It'll be interesting to see how many drivers take the gamble onto the wets at the start. It's mainly because of the fact that, well, you do lose that initial time, you lose that initial motivation, and that could knock you down.
Yeah, and yeah, going to be really tricky as well. I am going to be really interested to see what some drivers do, because obviously if there is a safety car in the race, are people going to plan to get their wet stop out of the way nice and early? Are they going to wait until that safety car comes out before they serve it, try and benefit from that as well? The F2 cars don't catch too well up to the safety car. With the speed difference, it does take them a lot longer. If you do end up 45 seconds behind, you might find that you would barely catch with just one safety car.
Yeah, and that's the gamble that they do have to take. That's why this is such a good wildcard, because it will completely change the course of the race. Some of the other wildcards, you can get away with it a little bit, but this one, it completely changes the course.
Yeah, I mean, like last week when we had the no track limits out in Mexico City, I mean, that just completely changes how the race is driven. I mean, literally, the lines were just completely different, and that one worked out really well. So hopefully another very different wildcard could throw up some more great action around a great track as well. One of the best on the calendar. Shouldn't be too much longer, I don't think, before we get ourselves into the one-shot qualifying, though.
Yeah, well, there we go. Let's move our attention to that one-shot qualifying there. Who do you reckon is going to be on top there?
Well, I mean, if we look back at how this season has gone so far, if I remember correctly, Formula Karim has taken every single pole position where he has tried. He didn't pick it up in Mexico City. I think Kryzik's got that because Formula Karim wanted to do it last first. But I mean, yeah, purely based on what we've seen in the past few races, in the last 5 races, I'd have to say it's going to be Formula Karim. Kryzik's, though, he seems to be very much on the pace today, and he did pick up pole last time out as well. But we have seen the qualifyings do get pretty close. You never know, somebody might be able to come out of absolutely nowhere to pick it up. One mistake, you're off the track and your lap's gone, and that would be qualifying over down to the back of the grid. So yeah, going to be really interesting to see who can capitalize as now the countdown is starting. We should be getting over into the pit lane in just a second.
And yeah, I mean, we saw from Formula Karim there that it starting at the back isn't as easy as Lewis Hamilton makes it seem. It can be a little bit more difficult, especially around a much tighter track than this, where your only real overtaking opportunities are either taking a massive gamble or the DRS straights. It can be difficult for those moves to be made, and so starting up the front is going to be vital.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does always provide great overtaking, but if you do get stuck in a DRS chain, as we saw a lot of drivers doing, it just becomes that much more difficult to overtake. There's no hybrid power in the F2 cars. It's pure engine power, as now we head down to the pit lane for the start. Well, not quite yet for the start of this one-shot qualifying, but everybody's sorting their setups out, picking their tyres and getting themselves ready. There we go. There is the countdown at the top of our screens. And we will be getting this race, this qualifying session underway in about 20 seconds time, maybe a little bit quicker if everybody gets ready a little bit earlier. But yeah, really looking forward to this one, and I think it's going to be a very close one. Brazil always provides close qualifyings, and with such a tight F2 grid, why not? Why not? We could see one of the closest qualifyings ever, potentially. But here we go now. Drivers preparing for the start of their laps, making their way down towards turn number 1. Just going to wait for the leaderboard to settle out a little bit. We'll see who is on the pace through this first sector. It looks like Watts, though, he's having a pretty good run. We'll head over to him in the Trident. Adam Sanderson also up at the top end of the field. F1 Scott in third as well as they make their way down towards the Cedars de Lago. Formula Carwin disqualifying. Crysis as well. They're both going for the last to first. Bit of a lock up there for Watts. That could cost him a bit of time. He managed to keep within the track limits, though, fortunately enough for himself. So he's still up in P2. F1 Alex also right up there, and he is looking pretty strong as well. Currently, though, Adam Sanderson holding the provisional pole.
Yeah, and I mean, he's somebody that demonstrated pace in that sprint race, so it's unsurprising that he is up there. But up there completely at the top is something that's a little bit more surprising. F1 Alex and Watts being up there as well. It seems to be quite a battle between second and fifth. They seem to be switching positions. F1 Scott, Alex, Arsino, and Watts as we head round now with Adam Sanderson, the final corner. Tom just dropping, so maybe he had a poor last braking zone of the lap. He dropped down to P9, so Adam Sanderson likely now is going to come across the line to take that pole position for the feature race. Indeed he does. So an Adam Sanderson pole position, 6 whole tenths ahead of everyone else.
Wow, what a margin. I mean, look at the gap between second and third. It's less than a tenth of a second. Adam Sanderson, 6 tenths clear at the front of the field. Wow. We've got 2 drivers, Matty D and Ricky, 7th and 8th. They've both set identical times as well. Just shows how close things are here in the Formula 2 Creator Series. Just waiting for Hayden Gullis. Let's see what antics he's up to. Oh, I was expecting to see a backwards car. He has just crossed the line now. But there we go. Adam Sanderson on pole position for the first time this season.
Yeah, and that is a margin to take pole position by. Over 6 tenths is what you had over F1 Alex, F1 Scott in third. Then it's Arsino, Watts, Test Will, Matty D, and then Ricky. Well, Matty D and Ricky with it identical times actually, and then Tom and Luke Howick rounding out the top 10. Then it's Chesnoy Gaming, Pondon, Infratic, Ultra Killer, Blackmere, Hoodie Pete, Zach RC, Hayden Gullis with no time, so maybe he ran out. In that, maybe he was backwards and we was unable to see that. And then it's Cryzix, Big T-Mac and Formula Kareem starting from the back of the grid.
Yeah, so 3 drivers opting to go for that last first, disqualifying themselves from their laps. Yeah, going to be a great race though. We've got some drivers fighting through from the back. It is looking to be dry for now. I'm seeing wet tyres for some of those cars in the pit lane though. They have just changed over to slicks. Never mind then. That would have been quite worrying if some people were going to get put out on some wet tyres. As now we're getting ready for the start of this feature race, 40 laps of racing to come. And yeah, going to be a really great one, I think.
It is going to be a very great one, I think, with all the strategies that are changing up. That's something to keep an eye on. Maybe the action on track won't be the most that we'll ever have, but it will be quite impressive in terms of the battles that will be happening on track. And then obviously 3 of the quickest drivers starting from the back, the ones that started first and third, or finished first and third, sorry, in the sprint race, finished first and second on track. They'll be starting at the back, as well as our current championship leader, Formula Kareem. So definitely quite a significant margin Formula Kareem has over everybody else. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, so now formation lap getting underway. Adam Sanderson on pole position. F1 Alex alongside F1 Scott in third place. I mean, if you take Adam Sanderson out of the equation, it's the same result that we saw the end of the feature race last time we came to Interlagos in Season 6. F1 Alex picked up the race win, F1 Scott in P2. So still we could see a repeat of the Season 6 result. We never know what's going to happen here. But yeah, definitely going to be a great one. We've got F1 Scott already. I think that is... no, it is his teammate actually, Test Will, going very quickly on this formation lap, already making his way through turns 8 and 9 in just a moment. But yeah, definitely going to be exciting when we're yet to see a disqualification, surprisingly. I feel like if we head over to Hayden Gullis, he might have picked a target here. He's currently got Zach RC in front of him. whether that will be his target, whether he will take somebody out as he usually does. Here he goes, almost into the back of the Prema car. I'm not sure if there was any contact. Zach RC gets disqualified. Has Hayden managed to fluke that one, get Zach disqualified and not himself? I think he's hit Hoodie Pete. I think that was as well in front of him. Oh, there we go. As now Hayden, I think, going to get disqualified as well. Somebody getting their revenge there. I'm surprised with that, to be honest. We were able to see quite a few cars. Well, I think that's 3 different occasions where the car hitting someone else didn't get disqualified. I'm quite surprised. Normally, they both get disqualified, as now everybody slowly but surely lining up on the grid. Adam Sanderson on pole position, F1 Alex alongside him. This is going to be a great race and a great race of strategy as well. Just quickly on the tyres, most of the grid, I believe, on soft compound tyres. There we go. Ricky, Chesnoid, Blackmere, Hoodie Pete, and Cryzix, the drivers, opting for the medium tyres, as now the final few cars lining up on the grid, ready to get this race underway here in Sao Paulo. Alright then,
Yes.
so now the drivers looking forward, the 5 lights have come on up ahead of them, and we are now underway racing. Adam Sanderson seems to have a great start there, coming off of pole position, already 7/10 clear. How's he managed that one? I'm not too sure, but he's going to lead us away into turn 1. F1 Scott having a look around the outside of F1 Alex, can't quite find a way through there. Arseno already lost a position to G-Watts, unfortunately on this race start, down to P5, and might be under pressure from Testwood as well, as they make their way down towards the Cedar de Lago. Adam Sanderson is leading from F1 Alex, F1 Scott, and G-Watts.
So yeah, a great start from Adam Sanderson in first place. F1 Alex as well being able to cling onto the back of him, as there's a little bit of squabbling behind Hayden Gullis and Hoodie Pete as side by side. Cryzix getting past Hoodie Pete as well, so maybe there's been a problem for the MP car, but he drops down now into P17. But Hayden up into P15 on that start. There's contact just ahead. I believe that's Ultra Killer as Hayden and Cryzix going side by side once again. Ultra Killer and Chesnoid Gaming making contact possibly. Looking further up, Gwatz has moved up. Somebody has gone all the way off the track. It is Chesnoid Gaming who has lost out. He drops down to the back of the field. Testwell as well looks to join him just down there. Formula Kareem, Hayden Gullis and Cryzix all gaining a hell of a lot of places on this race start. Ultra Killer side by side with Matty D as they head around the final corner. Matty D just ahead on track, and it looks like he sealed that position. He started though in 7th place, so a poor start from him overall, and it's 3 wide behind him as they head into turn number 1. There's people in the pits, but 3 wide is what they're going to head in. Ultra Killer takes the position. Pondon stays in P2. Now it's side by side Matty D and Hayden Gullis. Hayden just getting ahead. That line through turn 1 was perfect, and it's allowed him to get through. Formula Kareem as well, because the door was open. Cryzix could be getting through, and it's chaos, as there's about 5 cars trying to fit into 2 slots, which, as we may know, doesn't go. And Hayden, he's up into P10 now. Formula Kareem in P11. It's side by side. It looks like Cryzix and Matty D. Further back, Hoodie Pete as well getting involved, running a little bit wide though off the circuit. He goes, and it looks as though Matty D is going to seal that P13. It looks as though Hayden Gullis is going to come out on top in that battle.
Yeah, so up at the front of the field, Adam Sanderson, he's 6/10 clear of F1 Alex. G-Watts 8/10 further behind. These guys all sticking together quite well. The Arseno has lost the DRS for the time being, which will be enabled when they do cross the line next time around. And then you've got the 2 detection points through turn 2 for the DRS on the Retroposter. And on the exit of Junsao down the start finish straight, fastest lap of the race for Adam Sanderson. He's starting to build a bit of a margin, but it's not going to be enough though for that DRS, which has just been enabled. 7/10 as he crosses the detection point, not quite close enough. And further back here down into turn number 1, here comes Cryzix trying to get the move done on Formula Karim. That's for P11. These guys battling as they try to cut their way through the field. I have to say, really big loser off this race start, F1 Scott. He had to pit at the end of lap 1, and he's all the way down to P19.
Yeah, those 3 down the bottom have massively lost out because they haven't even completed their time. I don't know who, if anyone, actually took that gamble onto the wets early on. Surely no one did, because they were all able to stay in as Tom and Luke Howick fighting. Luke Howick has the outside line even as Tom, able to seal that position. Yeah, F1 Scott, Infratic, and Blackmere coming in. They all started, from the looks of things, on the dry tyres. So they were hoping to get a good start before switching. It was probably not the case, as Hoodie Pete becomes the latest driver to have a problem. He drops down to the back of the chasing pack in P18. And Formula Kareem, in the meantime, he's looking to get past Pond on the outside line. Beckons around the final corner for the high-tech driver. Pondon, though, holds on to it. His straight line speed is superior, heading down the main straight. DRS is going to be available for every single one of these drivers, so it's going to be neutralized, and it's 2 by 2 by 2 as they head into turn number 1. Kryzix holds on ahead of Pond, and Matty D and Kareem side by side. Kareem getting up into P12, just clinging to that outside line. It looks as though Matty D has been blocked in. He's been boxed in by his own teammate Pondon, which means Formula Kareem is going to be able to seal that position, may even get ahead, but unable to because Kryzix and Pondon went side by side. All of these drivers, they're getting their elbows out early on. They are fighting so hard for these positions on track. You've got 36 laps left, lads. Calm down.
Yeah, I mean, these guys really going at it. Here comes Hayden down the inside on Ultra Killer. Now the outside as they make their way through the Pinarino. And now towards Bigo de Pato. Hayden Gull is going to have the inside line once again, and that should seal the deal for him. Here comes Kryzik, the opportunist, getting its way up into P9 as well, past the MP Motorsport car, and also Pondon, Formula Crew, and Matty D all lining up now, getting ready to make this move as well as they head now into Junsao. Going to be a big DRS chain. Oh, there's got some contact in the background. Matty D into the back of Formula Crew, dropping some position now behind Test Will, and might come up behind T-Mac by the end of the straight as well. G was setting the fastest lap of the race in 18.7 for himself, and those up at the front are closing in. This battle for P1 getting much closer, and we could be seeing a move here for P2 now as G was closing in on F1 Alex.
Yeah, he is closing. That DRS is not available to him anymore as they head down the back of the straight. Towards the start of this straight, though, is the 2 Campos drivers, Pondon and, well, Matty D's a second off, but Pondon could be fighting with Ultra Killer, and it could be a battle between Testwill and Matty D. Testwill getting through on the second Campos driver, and he's up into P12, looking to get back into the DRS of the other one, Pondon, as they head through the final sector now, and I'm sure he'll be able to, as the gains that he's making are definitely enough. But this group of 4, they're just trying to slice their way through the field at the moment. Formula Kareem, of those drivers who started at the back, not having a great afternoon, and it's getting so much worse as he spins, and round goes Formula Kareem. He drops back down. He's only ahead of Hoodie Pete. That could change, but his tyres will be cooked.
Yeah, and he hasn't completed 5 laps on this set of soft compound tyres. He's only done 4 so far, so he needs to do 1 more lap before he can come into the pits if he does want to make that his mandatory pit stop. Tom is into the pit lane now of his soft compound tyres. He might actually register his 5th lap as he crosses the line now, so maybe they can make the pit stop on this lap. But look here now for the battle for second. G was gaining on the back of F1 Alex with that DRS for the pair of them. They're heading down towards the Cedar de Lago. F1 Alex just about managed to fend off the Trident car as they headed into turn number 4, but he is going to be under some immense pressure all the way through from now till the end.
Yeah, and it looks like it is going to be everybody who's coming to the pit so far has gone onto those wets. The strategies that they've chosen is on that switch. I presume they were all on the soft compound tyres, barring maybe Infratic, F1 Scott, and Blackmere, but they are all now on those wets, and we can see that time the times will be going completely down because it is a bone dry track, and these drivers will be the ones at the front will be trying to build that gap as much as possible, and you can see that there is actually quite a huge margin between Tom and Hoodie Pete, and it's actually stable, but it is looking now to increase, and it will increase by quite a significant margin. All these drivers in the top 12, they will be having the track position, which I feel as though they'll think is going to be important, because it's not as if those drivers who've come into the pits onto the fresher tyres will be making any gains, because they're on wet in dry conditions.
Yeah, here now comes F1 Alex with the DRS down the Retroposter. He is gaining on the back of Adam Sanders. He's going to have a look to the inside. Can't get close enough, though. F1 Alex has to sit behind in second. It was a really nice lap from him last time around. Gained a couple tenths on Adam and got himself right up onto the bumper of the Prema car. Just quickly looking at the lap times, it's actually worse than I was expecting. From the times we saw in the sprint, the guys up at the front, they're doing 1 minute 19s, mid to high 1 minute 19s, and the guys on the wets doing around low 1 minute 25s, high 124s. It's about 5 seconds a lap slower, the wet tyres.
Yeah, so it will be the track position that they're going to gain, but then later on, those at the back will be able to scythe through the field. F1 Scott comes into the pits, I presume Infratic and Black Mirror are going to, yeah, indeed, they are going to follow in. And those 5 laps on those wets, the incredibly difficult 5 laps on those wets are over. Chesloyd Gaming's got 2 more laps. F1 Scott switches back onto the softs that he started on, so he will be quicker than those at the back. But interesting to see that he switched onto those that he started on instead of those like brand new ones. Infratic as well has gone on to worn ones. Black Mirror has taken new ones.
Here comes GWATS now down the Retroposter once again. We're seeing fights down this straight towards turn 4. Is he any close enough? No. I think crucially though, the thing we've got to remember is these guys who have just come back off the wets, they have served their wets requirement for the race. They can just use slick tires at the end. But they are a lap down. They have gone behind the leaders here. So going to take quite an effort as Luke Howick has gone wide down at turn 5 off the track as he now rejoins. He is safely back onto the track, but down in P7 and could lose a couple more positions here as well, as he's now got Test Will, T-Mac Pondon all queuing up behind him. Formula Karim not too far behind as well, going to be rocking up on the scene in just a moment. I think it's actually the laps cars that he's got directly behind him, because it's 1.7 it's saying to Test Will. So yeah, that's our 3 lapped cars, F1 Scott, Black Mirror and Infratic. Back out over to our race leaders once again. Adam Sanderson, 6 tenths clear. He's been doing very well in this race. He's led every lap of the race so far. F1 Alex tucking in behind in the slipstream. GWATS sitting behind as well. Infratic gets a 10-second penalty for ignoring blue flags. Well, that's not something we were thinking about. These guys who have now got a lap down, they're trying to fight their way through. They're equal on the pace. They're getting shown blue flags and they're getting given penalties as well.
That is not what Infratic would have wanted. That comes as almost a complete shock. But that's why some of those, because they've pitted twice, F1 Scott, Black Mirror, and Infratic, so they will be facing those issues more than anybody else in this race, pretty much, where they're struggling to get out of the way early on, and all these drivers they will start to split apart, and I think that's where the problem lay. The fact that he had to let so many drivers through as Ricky and Kryzik start fighting. 2 of only 3 drivers to be on the mediums as Black Mirror becomes the second driver to pick up a 10-second time penalty for ignoring those blue flags. Kryzik's, though, around the outside of Ricky. This fight's quite aggressive, and Kryzik's looks to try to hold on to it. It looks like he has held on to it into that P5 spot, but yeah, not looking good for Black Mirror and Infratic, and F1 Scott will be watching 8 seconds behind him, getting a little bit shaky now, hoping that grid splits up by the time that they get to him.
Yeah, Infratic has 2 penalties for ignoring blue flags now. It's not going to be long before he gets disqualified. It's down into turn 1. F1 Alex takes the race lead. The second driver now to lead this race. He gets a position into the center as he's back up to P1. But now down the Retroposter is another penalty for Infratic. He's so close to getting disqualified now. He's got to be oh so careful. Here comes Adam Sanderson once again with the DRS to the inside. And he's going to retake that P1 position down into turn number 4. Back up into the race lead. And the order is as it was, but as we cross the start finish line.
Yeah, this is getting incredibly sketchy for Infratic at the back of this grid, and I think there has to come a point at some point soon where he unfortunately has to give up on this race, and I think soon enough is when that will come up, because you can see the traffic that they're in. That is incredibly difficult unless you're literally stopping on track to move out of the way of. And that is, well, 40 seconds now worth of penalties for Infratic. I'm not quite sure how he's not been disqualified. This has to be some sort of record for penalties, especially in Creator Series. He's been overtaken, or he has overtaken now Black Mirrors. I think he's just He is actually now ignoring the blue flags. Before we could have let him get away with it. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 4 times, and I think you might be doing it intentionally.
Yeah, and just looking here, G-Watts into the pit lane. I was going to say, I was a bit confused where the Trident car had gone. I was trying to work it out in my head. But yeah, he's into the pit lane now. At 10 laps in on those soft compound tyres, it's time to call it quits for him. As Adam Sanderson and F1 Alex down into turn number 4. No move happening this time around. So
yeah, it's just... At this point, these drivers, the ones at the front, are just trying to go as quickly as possible to make the most of these tyres. Infratic's up to 50 seconds. And this is something special.
I think I want to see. Has he been disqualified?
Oh no. Oh, that's a shame.
I'm not sure if he has, or whether he's just driving slowly here. No, it looks like he's letting those cars through.
Yeah. But I want to see what they do for 60 seconds. Do they do 60 seconds, or do they just do 1M for a minute?
It does show 1M when you do reach 60 seconds of penalties. I've seen that once or twice before. But yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get disqualified, but that's so unfortunate for Infratic. Dropping in as reserve, and he's now got 50 seconds of penalties, running down in plumb last. That tyre strategy is really not working out for him, as we see some more drivers now into the pit lane. F1 Alex stays out. Let's get those tyres up for you once again. And we see quite a lot more drivers from the second half of the field. They're now coming off of their wet tyres, but there's even more cars a lap down. Blackmere with another 10-second penalty. That's 30 seconds for Blackmere. Yeah, we've got... I think this is probably going to break the record. We were talking about it last time out in Mexico. There was 5 or 6 drivers who picked up 10-second penalties on the opening few laps with quite a big pile-up. But now we have 50 seconds from Infratic, 30 seconds from Blackmere. That's surely got to be some sort of record.
It's those two as well, because not F1 Scott hasn't even picked up a penalty for ignoring blue flags, as Testwell demonstrates his drifting abilities around Desida de Largo. But yeah, F1 Scott, I think he was just about too far ahead, because he's about now he's about 11 seconds ahead of Blackmere, even though they've had to pull. They pretty much had to pull over. We saw Infratic pretty much pull over, and he's now 1 minute. Is that 1 minute and 5 seconds? I think that might even be even more behind F1 Alex, the current leader of this race. But yeah, Adam Sanderson and Gwatz, the two leaders, or 2 of the 3 leaders, with the other one being F1 Alex, coming into the pits. Those wet tyres, that stint begins now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be really interesting. Obviously, if you end up on those wet tyres, and then you end up with a bunch of time penalties, Arseno picking up a 10-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane as well. Comes Luke Carrick for his pit stop, gets the car slowed down just about, yes. But F1 Alex, I mean, as it stands right now, he's 10 seconds clear of Kreisek. He's running a great race.
He is, Batman picks up another 10-second time penalty. F1 Alex really is running a great race, and I mentioned earlier that he was going to try and make the most of these softs. He certainly is. I think he's just going to run a normal strategy, and then maybe at the end he can go on those wets. We saw Tom in the sprint race try and go the whole race on those wets. It almost paid off until it didn't, when he span. And F1 Alex, I think some of those soft runners, maybe even some of the medium runners, will be considering to do that wet stint right at the end. That could be the plan. That could be the idea for a few of them. And I wouldn't be opposed to that, because they do have to do that stint at some point. They may as well do it when they're a lap up, and then the blue flags start getting a little bit difficult to deal with. So maybe that might even be the strategy. I didn't even think about that before the green flag.
Yeah, it's really, really tricky to predict what the drivers are going to go for, as Tom now gets past F1's got 5-lap newer tyres compared to the Rodin car, and Tom now up into P13. He has made his soft allocation. He's made his wet allocation as well. He can use mediums to the end of this race if he does have enough medium tyres, that is. I'm not sure what the allocation is like. Matty D with a 10-second penalty as well. Everybody picking up penalties left, right and centre. I mean, we're really just going to have to hope that this kind of comes to everybody. Everybody gets affected equally, and therefore nobody gets affected at all. Yeah.
I don't think anybody would be affected as much as Infratic and Blackmere have been affected because, as I mentioned, it was that early stint that really did them in. We see this a lot in oval racing, as there's yellow flags in Sector 1. Zach, I'll see possibly having issues. Yeah, indeed it is. He gets going again, 8 seconds behind the rest of the field, but it's going to be difficult at this point, actually, to pinpoint who's being overtaken, who is overtaking, and who is on the same lap, because who's on a lap behind, because of the fact that they're just all bunched up together. We did have, I definitely had issues with that in the sprint race, where we did see a couple of drivers getting lapped that I couldn't quite tell whether they were actually racing for it. But we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. You're going to have to pay attention to the actual cars that they're in, just to see, as Test Will is the latest driver to come into the pits, and he's picked up a 10-second penalty, a new type of 10-second penalty that we've seen in this race, speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, yellow flags as well down at turn 1. It's an orange car. It's Ultra Killer has had a spin through the center S's, got back going once again. Just looking down at our order, everybody from Tom down has used up their wet tyres. They are free to go to the end on the slicks. So 12 drivers still yet to finish up their stint on the wet tyres. GWAS still only got 1 lap left to go, and then he'll be back onto some slick tyres as well.
Yeah, I think GWAS might even be coming in on this lap, because I think that makes 5 laps. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. It will be a time soon for F1 Scott, Blackmere, and Infratic to come in as well. Maybe not quite yet. Maybe they've got another 7 odd laps in them, but depending on how much they've burnt those tyres out. And I'm sure Infratic and Blackmere, with their emergency braking that they've had to do, as F1 Alex takes it very easily into the pit lane. He doesn't want to fall for the same fate as Test Will. I think they've been braking and getting out the way, and then just accelerating again. Hoodie Pete picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limit warnings. Their tyres will be a little bit more worn than 8 laps. I'd say it's probably more about the 9 or 10 laps, as F1 Alex, he does switch on to those wet compound of tyres. We'll see actually where he comes out. Ultra Killer becomes the latest with a penalty. We are seeing that race control notification pretty much constantly throughout this race. I'm sure we'll be seeing it a hell of a lot more. And I think keeping penalty free will be absolutely crucial for these drivers. So it could come down to that, because I think even though they're all very split at the moment, it could get very tight towards the end.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this gap quickly between F1 Alex and Adam Sanderson. It's 10 seconds between the two of them. They were fighting for the lead in the early stages of this race. And 10 seconds, that's 2 laps between the softs, between the slicks and the wets. So Adam Sanderson's about to come off of his wet tyres, probably at the end of this lap. And then he's going to have about 4 laps, actually, on the slick tyres to catch back up. He could end up about 10 seconds ahead of F1 Alex if he has some good pace here.
And another thing to note, Adam Sanderson, who was the leader of the race before the pits, he will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap to get rid of those wet compound of tyre and to switch onto probably mediums, which will be the end. Towards the end of the stint. We do have a redeem message, which is somebody supporting Adam in his chase. So thank you, Kurt13, for that. And yeah, I think Adam, who has just dived into the pits, he's got a really good opportunity because he is quick. He's demonstrated this. It's this stint now that will define his race.
Yes, this is going to be the most important one. He's got to make sure he pushes hard early on these slick tyres. Try and get that undercut over F1 Alex. He is probably the best one in contention. Kryzik as well might have a shot, but he was a little bit further behind again. So this is definitely going to be the most crucial stint for him. He's got to make sure he can get back ahead of F1 Alex, and he might get a shot to extend that margin even more.
Yeah, this is his opportunity, and he does come out ahead of Gwatz, who is the driver on his, who is the only driver on his strategy, I believe. I think T-Mac as well. I think he went for. Did he go from the softs to the mediums? Because I think he might be trying the soft medium wet stint that I mentioned earlier.
Where is T-Mac? What position? He's in P6. Yes, he did softs onto mediums. You're correct.
So that is going to be very, very interesting towards the end of this race. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the order shakes up. I'm sure it'll become apparent where everybody's going to be around lap 30. I'll try to keep a note of what tyres everybody has used. They all seem to be going on to similar strategies, so softs, mediums. Softs, wets, mediums. We have got a few outliers in that as Test Wheel goes down the inside of Arsino. He gets through into turn number 1. P7 is going to be the Rodin Carlins, and Luke Howick comes into the pits. Those wets are off. Arsino, interestingly enough, he's done 5 laps on the wet, so clearly he's quite enjoying his time there. And he will be doing 6 laps, so more than the minimum required as he comes into the pits, presumably at the end of this lap.
Yeah, I expect that's just some sort of misunderstanding, not realizing that he was able to pit on this lap. Here we go, as we got Tom on the back of Gwatz down towards turn number 4, gaining in the DRS with the slipstream as well. Can't get close enough for the move. They're going to have to sit behind for a little bit longer as he fights his way through. He's only 4 seconds behind Adam as well, so not looking too bad for Tom.
Yeah, it isn't looking too bad, but you do have to remember that 7 laps on those mediums, it's not great. Well, at this point, they'll be fine, but later on in the stint, they will start to struggle. Formula Kareem, the latest driver into the pits, he switched onto those medium compound of tyre, and, well, he will be coming... Infratic has given up. He's given up on this race, unfortunately. We're not going to see 60 seconds worth of penalties applied to the PHM driver. But we are going to see Arsino finally dive into the pits to get rid of those wets. Formula Kareem comes out in 6th place as Alex, actually. He looks like he's lapping somebody or trying to lap somebody and failing.
No, I think he's being lapped by Kryzix. No, he's not. What? He didn't lose a position there. No, I think that's just... No, I think that might be Chesnoid another lap down.
Or unlapping himself, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, no, that wasn't a move for position there. And still one more lap to go for F1 Alex on these wet tyres. Test Wheel and Pondon both at the end of their wet stints. And then it's just going to be Kryzik, Ricky, Hoodie Pete, T-Mac, and Formula Karim who haven't completed the obliged 5 laps on the wet tyres. So most of the drivers getting it out of the way, getting it done. We'll head once again over to Gwatz and Tom. They're still going at it in this scrap for P10. And yeah, looking pretty exciting. These guys going to have a nice run down towards turn number 1. And they've got Pondon in front of them. This is going to help Gwatz out a lot in his defense because he's going to pick up DRS potentially off the back of this Campos car. Although he's going to get past on the exit. He's going to forfeit the DRS in an effort to get past the slow-moving car on the wet tyres, and that now could leave him very vulnerable as they make their way down towards turn 1, and that is Tom already pulling alongside and ahead with the DRS. Tom up to P9 now.
Yeah, and, well, he will continue to make that progress. F1 Scott actually does pick up 10 seconds worth of penalties, much later than we thought he was going to, but it was because of a pit lane speed infringement. Gwatz with that DRS down towards turn number 3 to Cedar de Largo, and he's going to get back ahead of Tom and up into that P8 spot once again. Only one driver is on those wet compound tyres. Now it is F1 Alex, who has just lost a position to Formula Kareem at the final corner. That was the final corner that F1 Alex is going to have to struggle on those wets for, as he's going to be able to switch onto probably mediums. Hoodie Pete comes in and picks up a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We'll see though what he goes on, because that will probably be a marker of what Kryzik and Ricky are going to go onto as well. Whether they're going to go onto the wets, get that stint out the way, or onto the softs. It's going to be the wets for Hoodie Pete, and I think that's pretty sensible.
Yeah, this should be mediums to the end as well for F1 Alex. He now gets back going once again out of the pit lane. Adam Sanderson powering his way down towards turn 1, but I don't think, actually, you know, we're going now into turn 1. It looks like he is going to jump ahead The pit lane twisting on the inside, though. Let's see what the margin is going to be between Adam Sanderson and F1 Alex. It's a 4-lap tire advantage for F1 Alex, but look how far ahead Adam Sanderson is. And he is the lead car who has completed all of the mandatory pit stops now. Once the end of this lap, he will have completed the 5 laps on every single tyre compound available to him. Most drivers are now approaching that as well.
Yeah, and that's where this race becomes more of a normal race. One that we're used to, where they are going to be on actual, like, tyres that they're, like, supposed to be using.
Yeah,
which... Yeah, it's going to be the wildcard stint over, as that was side by side. It is still side by side from Luke Howick and Matty D. Contact from somebody behind there. I think that may have been Arsino into the back of Black Mirror. I'm not 100% sure, but Luke Howick continues to lead this race. It looks like most of them, or if not all of them, are able to stay, as I've just cursed another driver, Matty D, who half spins into the S's, and he drops down out of that battle. He's not affected too badly, but he's down into P15 now.
Yeah, I think it was Matty D going into the back. I'm not sure who he hit there. We saw the end plate flying off. He lost an end plate down here into Jun Sao earlier on in the race, and now that's both end plates gone for him. Guot's just got past F1 Alex on this lap down into turn 1. We missed that overtake happening, but that's a crucial one. Guot's with the warmer tyres, he's up into P7 now. He can start to set his sights. After Adam Sanderson as well. Ricky into the pit lane here on lap 23 of 40. Got some more cars in the background into the pits as well. Blackmere and Matty D, both of them going to have to serve 10-second time penalties in their pit stops as well.
And yeah, I mean, it's the 10 seconds that are going to start racking up now for a few of the drivers. I think quite a few of them actually sped into the pit lane, which is where those penalties were applied, which is a shame. As Ricky comes in, he goes on to the wets, just like Hoodie Pete. Kryzix continues on 22 laps now. It will be 23 if he comes in at the end of this lap on those medium tyres, which is an incredibly long stint considering. But, I mean, fair play to him. If he's able to make those mediums work for 23 laps, he has a 35 second lead over Kryzix, as that's Blackmere going slowly. Looks like he may have spun in turn 2, possibly.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's back going again. But Kryzix coming into the pits. Those mediums are coming off, and I'd imagine he's going to come back out in the lead of this race.
Yeah, I think we've got to remember as well, Kryzix here, he's still got to make 2 pit stops. He's done the entire race on these medium tyres. He's still got to use the softs, and he's still got to use the wets, which are going onto his car now. So he is going to get this wet stint out of the way, onto a set of softs to the end of the race. We saw Formula Karim do 18 laps on the softs, 3-second time penalty for Tom for track limits. So yeah, 18 laps Formula Karim was able to do on the softs, so Kryzix should be able to get to the end. He's going to do another 5 laps here on the wets, and then we're going to do about 10 laps on those soft compound tyres. T-Mac making his way down towards turn 1. Kryzix will come out in the lead, but it's not going to be too much longer before T-Mac is able to get himself up into P1. Formula Karim not too far behind. Well, he's only 6 seconds behind. He's looking pretty good. I guess the question becomes, how much time are people going to lose with their final stops? Ricky's going to drop out of this fight to the front once he makes his next pit stop, and he's got still quite a few laps left to go on his wets. Formula Karim and T-Mac still have to do 5 laps on the wets plus a pit stop, as another spin down at turn 2 for Blackman. He's really struggling with those rear tyres. A really unfortunate race it has been for him, with all those time penalties and now a couple spins as well, running down at the back end of the field and a lap down as well.
Yeah, it's not been the day for those drivers who took that gamble early on from the softs to the wets, back to the softs. It hasn't been their day at all in any way, shape or form. I think they were hoping for a safety car. I think they could have made a safety car strategy work as well if they'd have switched onto those mediums, but bygones are bygones now. They've made their decisions, and to be fair, they're not completely out of this race, as we've got two drivers going side by side, Luke Howick and Arsino. This is a battle for P11, and it's not much of a battle, is it? Luke Howick getting through P11 is going to be his, but yeah, they're not completely out of the race yet. I think it's unlikely they're going to get back into it, as Formula Karim takes the fastest lap of this race. He has really thrown himself back into it, and this is why the 40 laps could completely it could completely change the game. We saw Formula Kareem struggle in the sprint race. Here, he's made much more steady progress, but progress it has been. And now he finds himself on that podium.
Yeah, still though, he has to use the wet compound tyres yet to come in his final 5 laps, I'd expect, to the checkered flag. That is really going to spice things up with... we're going to have 2 cars. We've got some yellow flags sitting down at turn 2 again. We've got another car spinning off. This time it's Zach RC almost into the barriers there. He's just about kept it out of the wall. But yeah, another driver really struggling out there today. Really unfortunate for him.
Zarcino and Luke Howick fighting side by side into turn number 1 as well. Zarcino had the line, but Luke Howick has the momentum and he's able to take himself around the outside. And P11 is his once again. Who gets the DRS between the two? It's going to be Luke Howick. Also, it's going to be possibly Testwell. Actually, I don't think he was quite close enough at the detection point to be able to take that, but he's going to stay behind. Also, fighting are the 2 race leaders. Now, Kryzik's most likely going to let T-Mac go. Try to stay within the DRS of him, although that will be very difficult to achieve with those wet tyres on. And these 2 now, the decisions that they make, I think, will swing the race one way or another.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting final stint. Kryzik still has another 2.5 laps to go on those wet tyres, so we're probably looking at another 10 seconds of time loss. I think Adam Sanson might come out ahead, but then it's going to be about 10 or 11 lap newer tyres for Kryzik, and it's going to be soft tyres as well. He could still yet have a shot to close in on the fast charging Prema car to pick up the feature race win tonight.
Yeah, I also think that Formula Kareem, I think that he, at this point, if I cast my net out early, he would be the one that I would say is going on to win this race. I think just because T-Mac, he's not got that much of a lead. Formula Kareem is closing on the same compounded tyre, and I think Kryzik's is going to struggle through the next couple of laps rather than being able to take it. He was only 3 seconds slower than T-Mac, which sounds weird to say that he was only 3 seconds slower, but that's the nature of the format of the wild card that we got this evening. I think it's definitely thrown up a decent race though.
Yeah, that middle part of the race got a little bit confusing with all the cars all over the place. The time penalties definitely, I'd say, a negative of this wildcard. Just an unfortunate side effect, I guess. But I have to say, overall, we still have seen plenty of great action all throughout this race, and we're on lap 27 of 40, and we have no clue what's going on with the strategies to the end. We still don't know who is going to come out on top.
It will be a case of waiting. I think I said about lap 30 is where the strategies would become more apparent as Hoodie Pete comes into the pits. Adam Sanderson makes a move past Ricky for that P5 spot, and that's somebody else unlapping themselves as well. I wish the teams in F2 had consistent liveries, because that would make it so much easier, but alas, they do not. So that was a Red Bull something that came out. But Hoodie Pete actually did 6 laps. He is the second driver to have made that mistake. The first one being Arsino, who is fighting here with Testwell and Luke Howick. Testwell has the lead in this battle. Arsino and Luke Howick, they were side by side, both trying to pressure ahead to the Estonian driver up in the front of this battle in that Rodin Carlin car. And Arsino just trying to apply the pressure. Can he make a move? Not into these S's. It has to be a gamble at this point as Ricky comes into the pits. Kryzik's will probably come into the pits at the end of this lap, and we will be able to see what his strategy is more when he comes in. But DRS will be available for Arsino and for Luke Howick as they head down the main straight, and I'm expecting them to make that move up into that P10 spot as the DRS now flips open. It will actually be P9 because of the fact that Ricky's into the pits. DRS is open. Arsino blasts past. Luke Howick not quite got the same momentum, but maybe he'll get past in the double dose.
Yeah, well, yeah, as you say, you got DRS once again down the retroposter, switching back now in the favour of Testwheel as they make their way down towards the Cida de Lago. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough, though. Is he going to have a look maybe to the inside? Here he comes, down the inside, down into turn number 4, gets the inside line, pushes out Arseno wide, and gets himself back up into P9. Kryzix is now into the pit lane, off of those wet tyres, and here we go, 2 wide, down into turn 6. Who's going to come out on top? They're still wheel to wheel, heading up the hill, through turn 7, in towards turn 8. Now it's the inside line, crucially though for Arseno. Luke Howick having to go the long way around, and now switches back to the inside once again as they head through the middle sector, coming up towards Pico de Pato. Now a bit of a snap there though, as Luke Howick comes out of shape, and that is going to end this battle slightly prematurely. Arseno holds on to the position. Kryzix, he has 12 lap newer tyres. He's on soft compound tyres. Let's see, how big is the gap going to be? He's going to have 11 laps to close down on Adam Sanderson. Adam Sanderson also got a lapped car fighting with him. I think Pondon. This is definitely not going to be helping him out, though. It's going to be costing him some time. Let's actually see. Is it Pondon? No, it's not. I have no clue who it is, but it's Matty D. He's fixed his front wing now. And he's battling away with the race leader as well. Newer tyres, so I mean, hopefully it won't cost him too much time, but it could actually prove a pivotal point in this race. That gap down to Kryzix, it's only about 4 seconds. It's not that big. Formula Career setting the fastest lap of the race on 11 lap old medium tyres. Yeah, I don't think Adam going to be too happy with what's going on down here with the Campos driver. It's going to be costing him quite a lot of time. It's going to be very distracting as well, and it's going to be allowing Kryzix to catch up crucially.
Yeah, and the Campos driver is going to have the DRS down the main straight. He's going to try to get past, and Adam Sanderson is going to have to defend from a lapped car, which is not a sentence that we were hoping to say today. It's side by side, almost behind, as well, that's another lapped car that appears to be trying to be a little bit quicker than they have been across the course of the afternoon. Kryzix, he will need to close this gap down. This, as I said, it was the decision to come into the pit. This will make or break people's races. Adam Sanderson is in the lead of this little pack. Has Kareem done his? What's Kareem done so far?
The top two, they've both done soft then medium. They still have to come onto the wet tyres, and unfortunately, with the pit lane time loss we've been seeing, I think once they do their 5 laps, they are going to lose a lot of positions, probably dropping down to around P10 maybe. I can't really see what the gap is there, but they're going to be losing a lot of positions in these final few laps.
Yeah, that's unsurprising, and I think it will be a straight fight between Kryzix, T-Mac, and Formula Kareem in the final couple of laps. We'll see if either of the top two come into the pit at the end of this lap, as they, I believe, they are coming now around the final section and up to. Yeah, neither of them have come into the pits on this lap, so they are continuing on. Kryzix with the fastest lap of this Grand Prix. He will be he's already bearing down on F1 Alex. He'll be looking to make that overtake as soon as possible, and we're going to watch as he closes in on him. He'll make those gambles a little bit more as Formula Kareem makes that first place. He's ahead of T-Mac into the lead of this Grand Prix, and he's going to come around the final corner. It was my mistake, actually. That wasn't him. I believe that was his teammate who was going past the pit lane. Kryzix getting past F1 Alex eventually, and that 2.3 second gap to Adam Sanderson is coming down incredibly quickly. Are they going to come into the pits on this lap? It looks as though they have not, and so they will continue for another one. That is Formula Kareem and Big T-Mac, who are going very, very late on these medium compound tyre.
Yeah, well, I expect that they are literally going to pit on lap 35 and do the final 5 laps on the wet tyres to save an extra pit stop here. But Kryzix is absolutely flying along. Last time around, he was 9/10 of a second faster than Adam Sanderson. As they cross the line now, we'll get to see in just a second. Fastest lap once again for Kryzix at 17.5. He's 1.5 seconds faster than Adam Sanderson's best lap, and that was pretty much his best lap last time around. They're both flying along at their best pace, but it's so much faster for Cryzix, and I think he will be catching by the time we get to Junsao next time around.
This is a bit ridiculous now from Matty D, continuing to try to fight Adam Sanderson. They were side by side, and now Matty D has gotten back ahead. This will be very, very frustrating for Adam Sanderson. It's really, it's one of those things that you only really see in Creator Series because, well, it's a little bit less serious than other leagues, which is absolutely fine. I'm sure Adam will take this with a pinch of salt as it is. But Cryzix sending his way through, and he's now alongside Matty D. He's going to get ahead of him, and so Adam, he will be very, very frustrated with this Campos car as it has now lost him that position.
Yeah, that move from Cryzix came from absolutely nowhere. We were watching on board as Adam Sanderson was sat behind Matty D heading into Pico de Pato, and Cryzix just came out of absolutely nowhere down the inside and got himself up into what is going to be the net race lead now as Adam Sanderson once again down the inside on Matty D, gets himself back ahead of the Campos car, and he can set his sights after the fast charging Cryzix. He's got to make his moves thick and fast though. He does not want to let Cryzix pull away anytime soon. He's got to make sure he stays within the DRS, because look who is rocking up on the scene behind. F1 Alex and Gwads, both half a second behind now. They are going to be putting the pressure on, and it could yet still be Adam Sanderson dropping off the podium in the late stages of this race. We have got 7 laps of racing still yet to come here around Sao Paulo. Another 10-second time penalty for Matty D for ignoring yellow flags, blue flags, sorry. That should be the signal for him. He needs to get out the way at some point here. As looking further back, we've got this battle here. Ricky, Arseno and Luke Harrick still going at it. These guys not backing out, and there's a 4th car I think maybe rocking up on the scene here. We've got Tess Will, Ricky, Arseno and Luke Harrick all battling away for P8. But yeah, Adam Sanderson now 1.7 off of Cryzix. He's really losing time here, and this is pretty much Cryzix away and gone, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the last 5 laps of this Grand Prix as Cryzix sets the fastest lap of this race, and somebody down the inside once again. You'll never guess. It's Matty D trying to fight once again with Adam Sanderson. He's given up on being nice. He was trying to squeeze him to the inside, and it's really costing him time now. This is not on from the Campos driver, and now it's 3 wide as they head down to Desida de Largo. Adam Sanderson leads this battle, but not for much longer as Gwatz goes incredibly wide. F1 Alex, in the meantime, finds his way through, and he moves up into P4. He moves up into P4. He heads ahead of Gwatz. Adam Sanderson losing 2 positions in the space of a couple of corners, and pretty much all of it is at the fault of Matty D.
Yeah, all the frustration starting to come out now. You saw Adam Sanderson getting really pushy with Gwatz there as well as we head into Pico de Pato down the inside. Adam Sanderson trying to have a look, banging wheels with the Trident car. He can't get his way through, and that's allowing F1 Alex to pull away. Matty D still sitting here trying to battle away with the leaders, and he is not helping them out at all.
Yeah, he's really not. He's trying to get that screen time, I think, is what he's trying to do. So I think from now on, I'm just going to completely ignore him, as difficult as that may be. And I'm sure as much as Adam Sanderson would have loved to do that, as Gwatz squeezes Adam Sanderson to the outside line, it will give the Prema driver a 3-second time penalty. And the wheels are really coming off in this battle. Adam allows Gwatz back through. He probably got an illegal overtake because he picked out that penalty at the same time that he was passing. But yeah, he drops down into P6 once again. 3 seconds worth of penalties is what he has. And Gwatz trying to put a car in between the two, just ahead of him. Or in between the two of himself and Adam Sanderson. But yeah, this is really going to be frustrating now as I don't know how he's not picked up. I'm not sure how Infratic picked up 50 seconds worth of penalties. And Matty only has 10 as Formula Kareem and Big T-Mac. They will do those final 5 laps on the wet compound tyres, and they will do that now. They're both in, and this is the moment that will define the race. Cryzix is heading round the final corner as Big T-Mac and Formula Kareem are into the pits. Formula Kareem has changed those tyres
Big T-Mac has now changed his, and they are coming out of the pits as Kryzix heads around the final corner, going across the start-finish line. They've both been let out, but from the looks of things, this is going to be Kryzix's race to lose. He's on the right compound of tyre. Big T-Mac and Formula Kareem are on the wrong ones, and he might even come out ahead of Big T-Mac. He's not quite. He's going to be in the slipstream, pulling to the outside line. This is going to be a fight, and Big T-Mac is going to try to fight this as much as he can. There's not much he can do, though, to try to fight it, and he picks up a 3-second time penalty for his trouble.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be Kryzix powering away now. The gap to the next slick runner is 5 seconds. They should still be able to fight their way onto the podium. But Formula Karim, he's got a couple of tenths now between himself and Kryzix. It's just going to be a completely different race between them. There's going to be absolutely no grip for the high-tech. And the ART should just get him here, potentially on the exit as they make their way through Magulio. Kryzix on the back in Formula Karim goes wide. Gonna take an alternate line there, using upper track limits warning. Might have just been a bit of a snap of oversteer there, but Formula Karim now drops behind and Kryzix up into the race lead. DRS for Formula Karim, though. He's gonna still try and battle this one out, despite having far worse tyres. Probably about 5 seconds a lap slower. Here he comes down towards turn 1. Formula Karim, he's not giving up yet. He's back up into the race lead. Still wheel to wheel now through the CLRSs with Kryzix trying to squabble it away. He's going to pick up the DRS once again down the Retro Aposta. And now could he have another shot? Potentially down into the Cedar de Lago. Looks like it's a little bit further back this time around, though, and it's going to be a bit harder. Looks like Kryzix might have just grabbed enough to hold onto this position. And it looks like this will be the end of this battle. Kryzix now going to be pulling well clear, and that should be the race secured for him with a couple laps of racing still left to go.
Yeah, it is a shame, but I'm sure Kareem is going to try to fight this, because absolutely, why would you not? But there are still battles going on up and down the field. The one of which being Adam Sanderson against possibly his favourite driver of the evening, but you can see Matty D does have 26 seconds worth of penalties. Blackmere has 36, but nobody is a patch on Infratic's 50 seconds that he picked up. And T-Mac now moves back behind F1 Alex, who is on those medium compounded tyres. So that wet strategy going onto the wets last appears to be the wrong strategy today.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at where they were before in the race, though, I think they were running down in like the bottom end of the points. So to be back up here now at the front of the field, it does seem to have worked out for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gone too badly, but Big T-Mac has been the winner of this weekend so far, winning the sprint race, absolutely dominating, and now he finds himself in 4th place, just off the podium, which his aim, I think, when he came into the pits would have been to cling on to that podium position. He's been unable to do so. And that 3-second time penalty pretty much confirms that he's going to finish in P6. Arsino and Testwill fighting once again. These two have been unable to get rid of each other all race long. But it looks like Arsino is going to be on track, at least, up into P8. That 3-second time penalty, though, looms over his head. And with just a couple of laps to go in this race, it's going to be costly, that 3 seconds, because he will drop behind Testwell, he'll drop behind Ricky, won't drop behind Luke Howitt because he's got 9 seconds worth of penalties himself. As I mentioned earlier, staying penalty free will be absolutely crucial, as what has happened to Kareem. I think that was Kareem there. It was Kareem just sending himself off. I think he's trying to get the best exit possible for the final straight. He's going to have the DRS, so he's going to try to fight this back as Adam Sanderson gets past T-Mac. In the meantime, so does Squats. But Formula Kareem showing a bit more pace on his wets than T-Mac did. And it's going to be a fight now. Alex sending it down the inside. Kareem trying to pick up that DRS once again. There's yellow flags behind as somebody's had issues. It's T-Mac who's gone off the circuit. Maybe contact with one of those further up, but he's found himself in P6. And I think that's where he's going to stay, as there's just 2 laps left now of this race.
I think there was contact with Matty D, actually. I think eventually it all came to blows and Matty D making contact with one of our leaders. And yeah, because he has dropped quite a way back. Here we go through the Curva de Sol. Arseno, the leader of this train, Test Wheel Ricky, right behind, all tucked up, trying to look for some moves. Tom has just picked up a 10-second penalty as well, and nobody making a move though down into Decider Largo. We're on the penultimate lap of racing here. Just coming to the end of it is now as Kryzik's 8 seconds clear of F1 Alex, the next slick runner. He has had an amazing drive throughout this race. Pretty dominant, at least, especially in the second half on these soft compound tires. Just really worked well for the strategy. But yeah, I'm just looking, actually. Adam Sanderson's got himself back up into P3. Formula Karim behind, and then it's GWATS. Is there a chance that Adam Sanderson still gets on the podium if Formula Karim starts holding up the Trident car behind?
I think so. I think there's absolutely a chance of that, depending on how much Formula Karim is going to hold up GWATS. And at the moment, he's got a gap of 2.2 seconds, Adam Sanderson, and ahead of GWATS. And it's only a gap of 1.1 seconds ahead of the high tech of Formula Karim. So it's going to be very, very... I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be closer than it looks at the moment because they've got quite a few corners to go. The straights, they can get away with. The corners, they cannot. And 1.7 seconds now for Karim. This is also a very difficult part of the track to overtake. And GWATS, he's trying his best to. And yeah, he's staying behind. Just, he knows that he doesn't need to make that move until the final corner, although that time is going up 2.3 seconds now between Adam Sanderson and Formula Karim. But Kryzik's has dominated. He's taking the victory here in Brazil. He has run, the race has been run by Kryzik's name. And, well...
Adam's out of fuel. Adam's run out of fuel. On the run to the line. T-Mac could still get him yet. Formula Karim has come home on the podium. GWATS missed out by 0.5 of a second, and T-Mac gets Sanderson on the line as well. Picks up the P5 in the end. That strategy working out for them. But wow, what a job by Formula Karim on the wet tyres. He managed to hold GWATS off. He picks up the podium position by 0.5 of a second. Hayden Gullis coming home in P7, Tess Will P8, Ricky P9, Arsenault P10 and Luke Howick P11 on their final lap battle. I think F1 Scott's out to fuel as well as he makes his way up to the line. A lot of drivers expecting safety cars throughout this race, and yes, I'm looking at his dash. He's minus 0.1 on the fuel. It wasn't much he was under by, but here comes Tom and Pondon now as they approach the start finish, and that was almost a big crash as they now come across the line. Tom picks up P13. F1 Scott comes in home in P12 despite running out of fuel. Pondon now up to the line. I think we had a lapped car we were fighting there with Tom. Pondon comes home in P13, never mind. Those penalties for Tom, dropping him a further position. He had 45 seconds of penalties plus 2 stop-go penalties, so 65 seconds of penalties. Tom was able to outscore Infratic on the penalty front. Driver of the day goes to Formula Karim, and I think that one is very deserved. How he was able to defend, I think I have my suspicions. I think the line he was taking down at the final corner, because he was on the wet tyres, I think he was slow enough that it wasn't giving him a track limits warning, and it allowed him to get a much better exit, better run down the start-finish straight, and that would have been what gave him just enough to hold on to that P3 and pick up the podium position. Really smart driving by Formula Karim.
And I can absolutely respect that because it's in the game. As much as we like it or not, it is in the game and it is a feature. And he took full advantage of that today to cling onto that podium. So that'll be Kryzik's taking the lead and taking the victory here today. And fastest lap as well, just for good measure. He wins with Alex in second. Then it's Formula Karim just about holding on by 0.05 of a second ahead of GWATS. Then it's T-Mac, Adam Sanderson, Hayden Gullis, Testwill, Ricky and Arsino that will round out the points. Luke Howick dropping out of the points because of his penalty. Then it's F1 Scott, Hoodie Pete, Pondon, Tom, Ultra Killer, Chesnoy Gaming, Blackmere with his 36 seconds worth of penalties. And Zach and our 2 DNFs are, well, Matty actually gets classified, but Matty down in P20 and Infratic with 50 seconds worth of penalties down in P21.
Yeah, so points down to 15th here in the Greater Series. So Howick, Scott, Hoodie, Pete, Pondon, and Tom will pick up a couple scraps there in the end. But yeah, what a race from Cryzix to pick up his first feature win of the season. F1 Alex alongside him in P2, and yeah, I still don't know how Formula Karim managed to hang on to that one. I think that's a clip that many people are going to want to see. That last lap battle between Karim and Gwatz, how they managed to hang on in the end. Yeah, it was a great battle though, all the way throughout that race, and managing to hang on. Yeah, what a drive from him.
Yeah, it was certainly a great drive, and I believe, are we going to be able to speak to him now?
Yes, we should be able to, and we will go for Karim first.
Oh, nice.
Hello, Karim. P3
Hello.
there, just about managed to hang on. That must be very relieving for yourself.
Yeah, honestly, it was a very tough race from my side. Like, the 3 wide incident, I don't know if you guys saw, 3 wide, spinning off, spinning myself, like that's a bit embarrassing as well. But after that happened, I basically said to myself on my chat, look, if I just do the safe option and go wets in the middle and then dries at the end, I'm not going to get anything from this race. So I sent it, I went dry, wets at the end, and yeah, P3, I will 100% take that.
It was an incredible drive. Was there any plans to do any different strategies, or was it always going to be the wets at the end?
If I didn't spin twice, I probably would have done soft medium and then, or no, I would have done soft wet medium. But if you were to ask me what the ideal strategy was, I'd say Cryzix did it. Go long on mediums at the start, get the wets out of the way, and then go softs at the end.
Yeah. Just quickly, on your final wet stint, we saw you taking an interesting line down at Jinsao. What was the thought process behind that? Were you just trying to get a better exit down the start-finish straight?
Exactly that. So the whole race, my plan was to, keep it clean in terms of track limits, not get any warnings, because I knew in the back of my mind I had I had my own wild card there, my trap card. So yeah, I did think about letting them through, like Cryzix and Alex, to secure the podium, but I went for content. I tried to hold them up, tried to defend for P1, and yeah, went off track, let them through, so I got the DRS and the better exit. And I mean, technically it worked twice, but yeah, there's not much you can do on wet tires.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, well, I say probably, it was in complete contrast to your sprint. Was that?
Yeah.
Was there any? Like, did you feel like you had to fight back? Was it one of those?
100%, bro.
That you had to feel like you needed to prove us wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it got off to a horrible start with that spin in the feature, and I kind of thought it was over then. But yeah, the sprint, I had a nice battle with Hayden. We had a few bumps, but it was quite fun. But yeah, lap 1. Crashing with Zach, I don't know if it was my fault, it probably was my fault, but yeah, then the double stack as well, oh my god, the sprint went horribly. But I'm glad to get a podium in the feature from that race, because I was definitely on the back foot there.
Yep. Well, it was an amazing drive from you in the end, coming home to pick up the P3, just half a tenth across the line as well. But yeah, big congratulations to yourself.
Thank you guys, and I'm sure the commentary was great yet again.
Thank you very much. Alright, let's now head over to P2, F1 Alex. Hello Alex, pretty decent race from yourself, must be pretty happy with how that one went.
Yeah, really happy with that. It was just to be honest, the whole thing's just been a big blur. I think I started well. Adam's straight line speed was crazy, and I thought, well, him and Gwatz can work together. And then yeah, after that he pitted. I stayed out. I thought I'm gonna stay out, have the fresher tires at the end. He got held up. He was battling a back marker, and then Gwatz came through and took him out, and then I went through and didn't lose any more positions. But yeah, Cryzy was too quick in the end.
Were you a big fan of the defensive move out of the final corner from Karim? Did you fall victim to that a couple of times?
No, well, do you know what? Back in the chat, the Discord chat after race, he asked me if I liked it, but on my screen he actually lagged off the track. So I didn't realize that's what he tried. So he, as far as I could see, he'd got into a barrier. So I just carried on racing. Then all of a sudden he reappeared behind me. So it did work, but I didn't know that that's what he was doing. I thought he'd crashed.
Yeah, so just quickly on the strategy as well, what was the thought process about the wet stint? What was the thinking through when you did that one in the middle stint?
I have no idea. I put the sauce on to start, and then my thinking was, right, how long will the mediums go? I could see people coming in quite early, and I thought their mediums are going to have to go like 24, 25 laps, which for me, I burn through tyres pretty quickly, as Hayden Gullis likes to say. So I thought if I just stay out a little bit longer there, I saw Adam went onto the wets. So then I thought, well, I'm on soft, so I'm still going to be quicker. So I'm going to pit onto the wets and stay ahead. Obviously, then he was going to pit onto the mediums and come back ahead, but then I'd have the fresher tyres at the end. Whether I'd have caught him, I was slowly catching him. I think me and Gwatts come out the pits, we was 6 seconds, and by the time he was starting to battle, I'd got it down to 4.8, and my chat was going into Gwatts' chat, Gwatts' chat was coming into my chat, just saying let's work together, let's go get him. Obviously he started battling, and then it went from there.
It sounds like you were making the strategy up just essentially on the fly, watching people go into the pits. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a safety car. I'm not going to lie. I was absolutely praying for a safety car. Then I was going to put the wets on through the safety car, which, to be honest, I think everyone was trying to do. But yeah, there was just no sign of a safety car. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, when do I pit? And I was asking my chat, do I pit now? No, stay out. Do I pit now? No, stay out. Have the fresher tyres at the end. But yeah, I absolutely was making it up as I was going along, for sure.
Yeah, and coming home in P2, a very nice result from yourself. What were your thoughts on this wildcard overall? Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
Love it. I think that was close behind last week's. What was last week? Oh, no track limits. To be honest, it shows. I know it's hard because we say you've got to be good on strategy, X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, I think this kind of a race, goes off strategy. It has to, because you're going through 3 compounds. When do you pit? When do you not pit? So yeah, super exciting, and I really like this wild card again. To be honest, I've liked every wild card so far. There's not been a bad one, and hats off to the people behind the scenes, because they made it work, and it is working for sure. It's working.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex, for your time. Congratulations on your P2. Go and enjoy it now.
Yes, thank you very much. Time for some COD. Let's go.
All right, well, that was a really great race. That strategy, it was quite hard to follow at some stages, but in the end, Crysis coming out on top. It was about 8 seconds, 9 seconds, the margin come the end of the race. And I have to say, that was a great one to watch in those final few laps. It
seemed to be brewing the entire race long, and I don't think it let us down at the end.
Yeah. We are coming to the end now. Joe, if they do want to find you, Sam or us, where can they find you? What are your socials?
I'm pretty much on every social media. My tag will be Kotkas, which is KOTKS. If you search that everywhere, you'll probably find me somewhere.
All right, and if anybody is wanting to listen to me a bit more as well, you can head over to the SDRL official Twitch channel. That is where you will find me commentating most of the time. But yeah, what a race it was here in the F2 Creator Series, as always providing us with some great entertainment. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. GMT, a little bit earlier to avoid a clash with the IRL F1, we have the Formula 1 Creator Series 100% race there. Going to be a great one. Definitely tune in to watch that one. And then we have the WRC on Monday as well. But yeah, lots of great action coming up, and I think it's going to be a really good week.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this was a great way to kick off the week. So I say kick off the week. We've pretty much got a week that runs Friday through Monday. So make sure to tune into them all.
Yeah, but everybody, thank you for joining us tonight for this action here in the F2 Grid Series. It's been a pleasure. I have been Josh, alongside me has been Joseph, and we will see you all in the next few weeks. Thank you everybody for watching, and bye-bye.